Okay, folks. Well, here we are. It's week 4. This is cinematography 2. And I want to say congratulations to everyone who's made it this far. I know this month was a lot of work, but I hope that the lessons that you have learned and the information that you've gained will help you moving forward. Um, Week 4 is kind of a neat um, soiree into the discussion of cinematography and how it interacts with other departments. For instance, the art department. Art department plays a huge role in the success of cinematography. In fact, besides the director, whose vision we're all trying to satisfy with our hard work and endeavors, um, the production manager is probably the cinematographer's next greatest collaboration, because I think that the success of the cinematography rests uh, very squarely on the quality of the locations that we choose to shoot at, uh, the decor, the set decorating that goes into the construction that goes into our locations, whether those are on stage and built from scratch or whether they are practical locations that are merely modified and redressed to suit the script. Um, I mean, these are huge production values that are added to the photography, the wardrobe, the efforts that wardrobe department makes in designing costuming and coordinating costuming with all the characters that we get to photograph. Without their contribution, my gosh, I don't know where we'd be. We would never be able to shoot period pieces, that's for sure. Of course, I'd be remiss if I left out hair and makeup. As subtle a contribution as it may seem that they make, in actuality, they help us a great deal. The makeup department uh, is extremely useful to a cinematographer when we're talking about shades of skin tone, when we're talking about tint and hair color, and little adjustments that can be made that allow for greater latitude and exposures with our actors and actresses, or more saleable images of our characters with prosthetics or with injury makeup, or even with the day-to-day maintenance of base and blush to get the characters to stop shining under our lights when they start to perspire. I mean, these things are not recognized enough, I think, as major contributions to the quality of the cinematography. So this week we're going to kind of consider that and look at a few things. Let me push my control panel off to the side and take a look at the docket for week 4. It starts out like every other week at this point. Sign in to register for the go-to training. Look at the video afterwards. If you're not able to attend the live session, and even if you are and you just want to go back and check out what was covered, go back over your notes or whatever, you can find a copy of the recorded session here. Access it at your leisure. Community discussion board's been up all month. I haven't really noticed anybody using it lately, but it is an excellent asset if you want feedbacks or discussions on concepts that either we don't cover in class or that we perhaps don't cover to your satisfaction, and you want to extend conversations, or you want to bring in conversations from the outside, for instance, projects you've worked on or whatnot. Community discussion board is a great place to do that, and you can promote a little community amongst your peers. The read and view for the month, I've got that pulled already. We're going to look at a few videos, and then I've got some chapters of reading for you from the Art Direction Handbook. These are kind of long chapters, so I have indicated where necessary the sections that you need to be exclusively concerned with, for instance, the interview with Joaquin Cedillo. Got a nice article here from the American Society of Cinematographers website on what to expect from directors, protecting your creative intent, and landing your first job. So the read and review is pretty simple this month. You might want to give yourself a little time on the Art Direction Handbook, but hopefully it gives you a pretty comprehensive look into a world that perhaps you haven't considered yet in terms of its contribution to the craft of filmmaking and how its contribution coincides rather closely with the success of the camera department. We got a little video here for you to think about on collaboration. It's not too long, only a couple of minutes. And then we have a little something on the cinematography process, pre-production sets and locations. That's from Cook Optics Television, which is a really great resource for you folks to check out. And then we're going to move on to our discussion post. But before that, I want you to check out the Meet the Cinematographer section for week 4, because we got a couple of interesting blokes here to discuss. Robert Hardy. Some of you may remember him from the film Ex Machina, the DP of Ex Machina. He gives a really great discussion on the art of cinematography. It's off of BAFTA Guru website. It's called Enlightened Cinematography Secrets with Rob Hardy, and I think you'll find it very interesting. He's got a great point of view on cinematography and what's important, and he talks about inspiration and he talks about creativity. Also, we have David Mullen, ASC, and if you don't recognize his name, you might recognize some of his work. He did some work for HBO, a couple of things for HBO. He talks about in this clip, or we look at rather, the astronaut farmer montage. He also does some interesting work. He did an interesting web series called Manure. And in the additional resources section of this week, I believe I stuck some discussions that he had at Able Cinetech in a digital lighting forum about shooting with painted backdrops and shooting on stage with cycloramas that he had painted by the art department to represent sky backdrops, and then how his process on lighting day exteriors on sets on stage. And he talks about lighting ratios and how to make light look believable and natural as exterior lighting while you are actually inside on a darkened soundstage. So check out his reel and then check out the additional resources section for Dave Mullen. I think he's a pretty talented guy. And he packs a lot of info in his lectures, so check him out. The last thing we want to show you is some stuff from John Seale. And if any of you are fans of the Mad Max series, you'll recognize his name as the DP from the latest installment of Mad Max Fury Road. And you may not realize it, but John Seale has retired a couple of times from cinematography. And he's been lured back each time by interesting scripts and seductive photography opportunities. And this one was certainly up his alley. The pre-production at the point John Seale was brought on board consisted of no script. It was merely a treatment and a little over 4,000 storyboards that John and the director, Frank Miller, had to consolidate into a cohesive storyline. And I think they did a really good job, actually. Fury Road's got a lot of action. It's got a lot of photogenic landscapes and a lot of interesting art direction, costuming, set construction, and particularly some of the vehicles and some of the extravagant locations that they shoot at. So I would check out Mad Max Fury Road, the cinematography of John Seale. And lastly, for this month, I've got kind of a special project that most students end up really appreciating. They enjoy doing it, and it's called Magic Hour. Before I get into Magic Hour, though, I should note that you have one more spotlight due. So pick a name off the list of cinematographers that I provided you in the beginning of the month. The Cinematographer's Directory, I believe we call it, in PDF. Pick another name out of the hat, do a little research, tell me something I don't know. Don't forget your cover page, your bibliography. I've put on the Getting Started section of the course a little activity on how to write a proper term paper. Check it out. It talks about academic style, or the APA style guide. It talks about basic formatting. It talks about do's and don'ts. Not real complex, not real long. Shouldn't be a huge investment of your time, but check it out. It'll help you create more interesting and academically effective cinema spotlights. So Magic Hour is your week 4 project, and I just want to open up the page here. And so basically it's the whole concept of this runs concurrently with the concepts for the week of art direction and art department collaboration. And the prime example that I focus on for this assignment is the film Days of Heaven, shot by Nestor Almendros. He received the Academy Award for cinematography for this film. It was directed by your friend and mine, Terrence Malick. And it's a pretty iconic film. Takes advantage of amazing northern latitude available lighting that they got in Alberta, Canada, back in the days when they shot this. I think it was late 70s, early 80s. Talks about shooting at Magic Hour. Talks about capturing those amazing saturated colors and those long shadows and amazing contrast that you can get in the hour in and around sunset, and how you can stretch that hour with creative camera adjustments and with creative lighting to allow yourself a little bit more time to render, especially on film. And we have a making of the film, the making of Days of Heaven. And it is hosted by John Bailey, who is now an ASC cinematographer, but at the time was the camera operator for Mr. Almendros. And we're going to have a couple of things for you to check out. I've got a neat app for you guys to download and put on your iPhones, which gives you GPS information for your latitude and longitude, wherever you happen to be in the country or in the world, and calculates your sunrises and sunsets for you, lets you know when your Magic Hour opportunities are. It also gives you weather forecasts and so forth. So it's a handy app if you plan on shooting Magic Hour material. I would check it out and load it up. I've used it. It's very cool. Some of my students have really enjoyed having it. Thought that it was an invaluable tool, particularly for this assignment. And then we got a little bit of reading for you. We have a nice article that Nestor himself wrote for Filmmaker Magazine back in 2013, 4 Lessons in Cinematography, from Nestor Almendros, recorded by is it Stephen Seneviratne? Can't pronounce it. It's a $10 word. But it is from Filmmaker Magazine. There's a link to it here. Then we have a trailer for Days of Heaven, and then we have our Shooting Days of Heaven video with host John Bailey. So, here's an excerpt from the David Mullen Abel Cine discussion on innovations in lighting. This is just an excerpt. The extended version is available in the advanced reading section of additional resources. So you can check out David Mullen's discussion here. I think he talks a little bit about A Lot Like Love as well, and some other interesting work that he's done. So here are your PDFs and pages worksheets to download, your rubric if you're interested in a copy of that, your instructions. And let's see how you do going out and capturing images at magic hour. And remember, it's all about the saturated colors. It's about the contrast and long shadows. So get out there and take a look at the world at this interesting time. If you don't have a clear day because you live in the wintry latitudes at this point in the calendar, consider that you can still shoot at magic hour, but what we call it in the Great White North is blue hour. And blue hour is interesting because if you set your camera to the same settings you might set for magic hour with sunshine, in other words, set your camera to be sensitive to the red values of sunset, you'll see in an overcast, snowy locale, the short frequencies, the blue light that is resultant of living in a wintry latitude at this time of year. And that can be equally effective imagery, particularly when you get the warm lights of cozy interiors in your frame, along with the cool blue exteriors of a winter magic hour time frame. It can make some really magical looking photography. And you might have seen this type of thing before. If, for instance, you went to the theaters to see The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, if you happen to like that look, well, that movie's full of blue hour because they shot it in wintertime in, you guessed it, Sweden. So not much open sunshine at magic hour in Sweden in the winter months. So check out how our friends on that production handled the blue hour concept with the exterior photography. That is Mr. Jeff Cronenweth. Son of the great man who shot the film Blade Runner. So think about that and check out the magic hour content and concepts here, and then go out and take a crack at it. Show me what you can do. You do have one final open book knowledge check. It's based on the reading about art department collaboration. And then, of course, your student course evaluation. Folks, please do the student course evaluation. It helps us to fine-tune the course content. It lets us know what you like and what you don't like about the classes, the concepts, and the delivery methods for your curriculum experience. So this is your chance to voice your opinions. Please be constructive and please be considerate. But if you are not satisfied, please also be honest. And if you are satisfied, we also do accept flattery. So please do your course evaluation. And then anybody who is not aware, at the end of each of my courses, I give you our current policies white papers. And in this case, we also have a lighting equipment support and accessories page. This is a link to the website Favatech, which is the supplier of your Studio Pro lighting kit. They also have other great lighting fixtures and accessories available, including LED panels at really great prices. And I think it pays to have a relationship with the service providers whose equipment you use in the field in the event that you have questions, problems, repair needs, or additional equipment needs. It's nice to know who to go to. In this case, you're dealing with Sony, Apple, and Favatech. All right, student late work policies here. Give it a look if you haven't already. The current student media content policy that covers issues of student content involving use of firearms, weapons, drugs, or alcohol, and the current policies regarding those concepts and how to handle them in terms of submitting your assignment. So check these policy white papers out. And that's pretty much it. It is week 4. It's a short week. You have stuff due on the 22nd of this month. Check it out on the calendar. You can see pretty much all the way down here. We've got December 22nd as a looming deadline. If you do submit after December 22nd, rather, I will accept your work until the 24th, but please understand that that's Christmas Eve, and I may be under the influence of eggnog, which means you may not get a response or a grade until the following week. Classes will resume for you folks on the 8th of January. I will be back with office hours by the 2nd. And so you may not see feedback or grades until then if you hand your work in after the 22nd. But please don't feel like if you're jammed up and you needed those couple extra days, go ahead and do it. I won't fault you for it. We're just trying to get everybody's grades in as early as we can so we can let you know how you did by the end of the year. And you can brag under the Christmas tree while you're clinking glasses of your own delicious eggnog with your family and loved ones. And I do wish you all a happy holiday as well. And I look forward to seeing you all, some of you in the new year. And those of you who are moving on, congratulations. I wish you the best of luck, and please keep in touch. All right, this is Professor Walsh, moving to adjourn, and we will speak again soon. Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.